Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching The Mojo Story. We have learnt our lesson from three wars with India, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said in an interview to Dubai-based Al Arabiya TV. Now, Sharif called for serious and sincere talks with Prime Minister Modi to resolve issue of Kashmir. But after the interview, Pak PMO issued a statement saying talks with India can only take place after the actions of August 5, 2019 are reversed, of course, referring to the abrogation of Article 370 and bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories. Also, during his trip to the UAE, Shehbaz Sharif had reportedly asked UAE President to facilitate dialogue with India. The question that we are asking now on this show is that is this a genuine desire by Pakistan to build peace and better relations with India? And how should India respond? That's the question that we are asked. We're joined by an eminent panel. We're joined by Sushant Sareen, who joins us. Sushant Sareen, defense expert. He joins us, senior fellow ORF. We're also joined by Ali Moeen Nawazish, who's from Pakistan, a journalist. He joins us, and also we're joined by Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. We'll also be joined later by another guest from Pakistan, Maid Ali. But if I can start with you, Ali Moeen Nawazish, what made Shehbaz Sharif to make this statement? What was his motivation, according to you? It seemed to be a change of heart, or is there one? If you can unmute.
Yes, I don't think it's about any change of hearts or anything like that. I think it's pretty obvious that Pakistan and India as neighbors do need to go towards peace, and that has to be the ultimate goal. But it has to be peace on terms which are respectful of not only international obligations but obligations to Kashmir. And Pakistan has, for the most part, wanted peace, even though there have been impediments to that process. And I think for we saw that with Nawaz Sharif, Shehbaz Sharif's brother, who came into power, and he made overtures and outreach to Prime Minister Modi at that time. So I think there must be an appetite for peace in the region in any way. And I think if an outreach and overture has been made, or there's an attempt to make it, then that should not be politicized. That should not be used for point scoring or.
No, no. Why I'm asking, because quite recently Pakistani Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto uh, made certain remarks at the at the UN, and this comes days after that. So there seems to be a contradiction. That's why I'm saying, is there a change of heart from Pakistan?
No, so between there's so as I've said, so Bilawal's remarks were in response uh, to a particular allegation, if I remember, which was made towards Pakistan at that time and towards Bilawal. So and that was quite a number of weeks ago as well. But Pakistan's policy, I think, at this point is that we need peace with our neighbors, but that has to come with certain, as I said, obligations and certain things that have to be considered. But peace is in the interest of everyone, right? It's in the interest of the region. It's in the interest of Pakistan. It's in the interest of India.
Right. Before we go to Sushant Sareen, let's play that soundbite. What exactly Shehbaz Sharif said.
Even if we are not we are not neighbors by choice, but we are there forever. And it is up to us to live peacefully and progress, or quarrel with each other and waste time and resources. That's up to us. Pakistan has learned its lesson. We had 3 wars with India, 3. And the consequence of those wars, as a result, it only brought more miseries,
to the
unemployment,
2 nations.
poverty, and millions were demoted from their level of satisfaction to a lower level of satisfaction. We have learned our lesson. And we want to live in peace with India, provided we are able to resolve our genuine problems.
Yes.
Now this is very important أختي. هذا نقطة مهمة جدا.
صحيح.
ضروري يعني. So my message to the Indian leadership and Prime Minister Modi is that let's sit down on the table and have serious and sincere talks to resolve our burning issues like Kashmir, where flagrant violation of human rights are taking place day in and day out.
That's a very important message today.
Absolutely. And two, they usurped whatever semblance of autonomy was given to the Kashmiris in their constitution, Article 370. They revoked that in August 2019. And minorities over there are being grossly mishandled.
Sushant, Sareen, has the proposal come with seriousness and sincerity, or do you think it was just a casual remark in an interview?
Zaffar, there was no proposal as such, because as far as the government of India is concerned, it's been a long-standing position. The government of India does not respond to media reports or tweets or interviews. If the
Yeah.
Pakistanis are serious about talks, there are many other channels, official or semi-official, which they could have used
Yeah.
to approach India for talks. So that is, as far as whether this was a proposal or not. I think this was virtue signaling by Shehbaz Sharif. Maybe he was told by his donors in the UAE that you need to reach out to India. I don't know what the background of that is, but number one, so I don't take this very seriously. There was a Pakistani finance minister who said, I tweeted that I'm ready to buy aloo and piyaz from India, and nobody responded from the Indian side. You think the Indian side is going to respond on a tweet? That's not the way diplomacy is conducted.
Right.
That is one. The second is that if, Zaffar, the Pakistanis act as though peace is something that India is desperate for, that India will break up if there is no peace, that India is, in a very bad situation and India desperately needs peace and that they are doing us a favor. Nobody is doing anybody a favor, right? Number one. Number two, if they want peace, then are the ground conditions of the sorts that tell you that yes, they are genuinely keen on a peaceful relationship with India, on normalization with India? There is absolutely no indication, and this kind of verbiage we've heard innumerable times in the past. But what happening on the ground is something entirely different. So I don't see any sense of purpose or any sense of seriousness out there. And number three, Zaffar, when I started watching Pakistan very closely and at a professional level,
Yeah.
I always used to desist from calling it an enemy country. We had adversarial relations, and but
Yeah.
like all young people, I at one point of time when I was young, I thought that maybe we have problems, but maybe we can get around that. But over the last quarter century, all that I've heard from the Pakistanis, and forget it, whether it's the liberal, or which is an oxymoron in the Pakistani context, or it is, a right winger or whatever you want to call it, invariably, India is Azli Dushman, the eternal enemy and stuff like that. So I say, okay, fine, I will take your definition for it. And if you are my enemy, then there is absolutely no incentive for me, none whatsoever, to try and reach out to you at a time when you are, up a gum tree. I could use some more colorful language, but I'll avoid that. And absolutely no incentive for me. And lastly, Zaffar, even in terms of economics, Pakistan is irrelevant to India now. So frankly, I don't see, and for Shehbaz Sharif to pretend on a day when the United Nations has come out with the kind of persecution of the Hindus in Pakistan, the way young girls, 12 years, 13 years old, are picked up by these Muslims out there. They are raped, they are forcibly converted, and I'm not saying this is a UN report, okay? On that day, for Shehbaz Sharif to talk about minorities in India, I think it was rich coming from him. From him to talk about Kashmir and Article 370. If Article 370 was there, would Pakistan be okay with Kashmir? Would that solve the Kashmir issue? So this was virtue signaling, and I think we should have not even spoken about it and just ignored it, really.
Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni Sushant raised the point about the ground situation. We see encounters taking place in Jammu and Kashmir, not just in the Kashmir Valley, but to the south of Punjab. Recently, there was a massacre of uh, people of one particular community in Rajouri, very close to the line of control. So, ground situation has not changed much. Should India believe Shehbaz Sharif?
You know, Sareen is absolutely right. Pakistan must walk the talk. That's something which is very, very important, which we have not seen. The seriousness not. The seriousness is missing, totally missing. Pakistan is our neighbor. We understand, we accept, and that we must have good neighborly relations is something which is absolutely, universal truth, and that
Yeah.
we should jaw and not war is absolutely acceptable. But what is Pakistan doing? Pakistan since 47, what Prime Minister Sharif has just about said, we should be sincere and serious. Well, if that had come in 1950, it would be okay. From 1947 till date, you mean to say we were never serious or we were never sincere? India has gone out of its way. Where would you find the Prime Minister of India go down to Nawaz Sharif's house, wish them, and then fly out? Where would it have happened? Where was this? Just see the sincerity from the Indian side and look at the insincerity that emanated from the Pakistan side. All along, Pakistan, even during the 1972, what did Pakistan do? After having signed the Shimla Agreement, having rather, all the 93,000 PWs returned. What do you hear the chief of the army staff of Pakistan in his farewell speech that they were just about 34,000. Come on, be honest. In 1971-72 Shimla Agreement, we return your 93,000 PWs, and you have an audacity now in 2022 in your farewell speech to say 34,000 only surrendered. What nonsense are you all talking about? Look at Prime Minister Bhutto at that point of time. He comes to India, says, well, let me just go back to Pakistan. I'll resolve everything. It's a democracy. Give me a chance. He pleads to Mrs. Indira Gandhi for giving him a chance. What does he do? He goes back and he says, we will eat grass, but make an Islamic bomb. Look at it. Now, these are all civilian prime ministers. Bhutto was a civilian, almost, I would say, dictatorial prime minister, even though he was a civilian, the way he was. Look at Shehbaz Sharif, the civilian prime. Forget about the army. The army, in any case, hate India. Pakistan uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Pakistan must show its sincerity. That sincerity is missing.
Right.
Absolutely missing. Look at
Ali Muin Nawazish, the sincerity is missing. Pakistan should walk the talk, but has it finally dawned onto the Pakistani political leadership, at least, to have good relations with India is in the best interest of that country?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been see, this is the thing, right? We have to come out of this if we want to talk about peace, if we want to talk about change. We have to come out of this hyper nationalistic, living in the past rhetoric. We as I said, and I try to be very respectful, like some of the words that were used, like those Muslims out there, or painting all Pakistanis with the same brush. I mean, this kind of rhetoric is damaging. I'm a younger person. I don't belong from that generation. It's just this kind of hatred is actually part of the problem. It's the impediment between any overtures to peace that anyone wants to make. Obviously, what Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has talked about, that we need to try and open these communication channels. We need to try and start having talks. Everything starts from one point or another. You can't just expect everything to change overnight, or grievances on the Indian side or the many grievances on the Pakistani side to go away. But I think what he's tried to say within that interview is that Pakistan is open to having more dialogue. Pakistan is open to solving problems. I have many friends in India who, we talk to. We also, and they tell me that, India over the past many years has changed in a way in which they're not happy about. And it's just one of those things that either we can have mudslinging and allegations on each side. Pakistan, when we talk about terrorism, even, or Pakistan using terrorism, I think Pakistan is one of those countries in the world right now which has suffered the most at the hands of terrorism, and we've seen a resurgence, and we're trying to fight it. But uh, we need to come to a point where just we're talking about Pakistan's prime minister saying that we need to sit down with Modi, and the kind of hyper nationalistic hatred filled response that is getting, that cannot lead to any form of peace. We need
Okay.
to be
Okay.
open to discussions and talks.
Moeed Ali also joined us right now. Moeed, we were waiting for you to join. We're talking about Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's statement, but I was just wondering what's new in it. It's been said in the past by other prime ministers also. Pakistan wants to have good relations with India, but Pakistan would want to discuss Kashmir and a reversal of the constitutional change that were made on August 5, 2019. But India has been consistent in its response that terror and talks cannot go together.
Yeah, uh, and that's, I think, a logical start. If any country resorts to terror or creates problem for the other, it's a non-starter. As far as your question is concerned, what has changed? That, in my opinion, I have seen a clear change in the establishment during the last 2 years, 3 years, well before Imran Khan uh, was dislodged, or when he lost the vote of confidence. Uh, I think there's a will in the establishment that Pakistan just cannot survive economically unless it develops good relations with its neighbors, especially India. Uh, uh, I have heard these things very often now from very important people in the establishment, that Pakistan needs to have some sort of rapprochement with India, so that we could save the money on defense, and of course get the benefit of mutual trade, especially after COVID and these floods. This thing has taken a little bit height, and there's a will in this country, and especially with the PPP holding the foreign affairs at the moment. PPP is very liberal in its approach vis-a-vis
But
Pakistan
but but
relationship.
Maid Ali, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari belongs to PPP, and his remarks at the UN targeting the Indian Prime Minister were, of course, not conciliatory.
Yeah, yeah. You see, that's the rhetoric that one has to do for the audience at home. He knows that it's gonna be election year this year, and he knows that and there is his constituency, and he might not have been briefed very well before leaving Pakistan, uh, so he had to opt for the general rhetoric that we have in Pakistan of sort of. Saying something and which is not very conducive for a dialogue, or saying something against India at an international forum.
So,
That, I think, that does not reflect the policy of the country, and that does not reflect, in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion, which I've seen. Uh, the tilt in the establishment now lately to go for a resolution of Kashmir, and then have a good relationship with India, so we could prosper, because
okay,
we don't have a bigger
right,
enemy than our economy at the moment. India
right.
is not a bigger enemy than
Sushant,
our economy.
Sushant Sareen, what Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said was merely rhetoric. He didn't mean it. That's
No,
what the
see, this is
Pakistani guest says. Yeah,
no, no. I understand where Mayad Ali is coming from, but
yeah.
look, this is where the problem comes in. When you say that he said this for public consumption. This was political rhetoric. Now, a politician uses that rhetoric when he knows that that particular line is popular among the people. The peace line is not popular among people. It is that rhetoric which Bilawal used, the invective and the vile language which he used against the Indian Prime Minister, the personal attacks which he made, that is what is popular among the Pakistani public opinion. Right? That's an acknowledgement from what Mayad Ali is telling us. The moment you say that, then you are telling me that no, but the government wants peace, the people don't want peace. Is that what you're telling me? So, the two things don't add up. And if you genuinely want peace, then the first thing politicians and statesmen would do is to prepare their public opinion in a way that it is responsive to any peace overtures, which is clearly not happening. So that is one part of the problem. The second part of the problem, from what Mayad Ali tells us is, and I have been hearing this for almost about 15 years now, that the attitudes in the Pakistani establishment have changed. They have realized that they need peace with India. They are going to make overtures to us, etc., etc. I have not seen any manifestation of them, none whatsoever, except this verbiage which I keep calling it. I have not seen any manifestation of it on the ground. So
Okay.
and since Mr. Mayad Ali talks about it, when the Musharraf peace process was taking place, we were told, and we used to travel very often to Pakistan those days. We were told by everyone and his auntie that the entire military establishment is on board. Okay, the day Musharraf doffs his uniform, the whole thing had finished. 2 months later, 3 months later, you had the Mumbai attacks. So, I think we have seen this over the last 70 years, episode after episode, episode after episode. And frankly, there might have been a time when, it made sense for us to, reciprocate or reach out to Pakistan. There could have been something beneficial, something positive coming out of it. I don't see any purchase in, reaching out to Pakistan, and certainly not in a way or at a time when the Prime Minister of Pakistan is acting as though he's the Fateh India, that the Indians are on their knees desperately looking for talks with Pakistan, and he, like this great magnanimous victor, is offering peace talks to India. He can go take a hike for all we care. Yeah.
General Sanjay Kulkarni, would you agree that it makes no sense to talk to Pakistan given the past experiences? But what's one thing that's been holding on for some time, Sushant would agree, is the ceasefire at the line of control for the last 2 years. It's been holding, by and large, there are no violations taking place there.
You're right. Ceasefire is holding, definitely. You can see the ceasefire is holding on Siachen also for many, now almost 2 decades. Excellent, no doubt about that. But terrorism still emanates. You still have the terror outfits emanating from the Pakistani soil. So you find that there are various power centers in Pakistan, and then that seriousness gets missing. And Pakistan is a victim of its own doing. The Pakistan now claim that, of course, we are victims of the terrorism. Who else did terrorism? Who is spreading terrorism? Who is handling terrorism? Who's sort of funding terrorism? Who is facilitating terrorism? It's all there. The world sort of acknowledges particular fact that Pakistan is the hub of terrorism. Why doesn't Pakistan admit, rather than saying we are a victim? Obviously, what did the Pakistanis do? The ISF props up Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, hoping what it would get a strategic depth and tie up with Taliban and get into Afghanistan. Now, when Taliban, along with Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, has gone after the Pakistan security forces, now they get after one another. So you find that you are a victim of your own doing. So Pakistan actually needs to rethink, because what will happen is nobody remains in Pakistan in power for a longer time. They come and they go. Then who's to be taken seriously? Nobody. And the Pakistani policy don't. Look at Musharraf. What does he say? Ye to sahab hamare hero the. If Hafiz Saeed is hero, what else can we expect? Musharraf was chief of the army staff. Musharraf became the president. Musharraf is a dictator. He comes to Agra for talks with Mr. Vajpayee. If that man has to say What mindset are we expecting? So Pakistan in itself, like honestly, Zafar, I have did my initial schooling in Karachi. I know exactly what at Clifton. So I know I have lovely friends, dear friends, no problem whatsoever. And here I come back and what do I find? The mindset, the education. The education in Pakistan at the very outset, you see the kind of education and schooling that is given to the children. That what I studied there, I know exactly what I studied there. So this is what is bothering Pakistan. So until
Uh,
unless
uh,
Pakistan gets out of this hate India mindset, Pakistan cannot progress. And
Ali
said,
Maid,
you saying we want good friendship.
okay,
Everybody wants
okay.
good friendship with our neighbors. Zaffar gives us 1% additional GDP. Who does not want to grow? We
Yeah.
are growing economically primarily because we are believing
Let's
in
hear
rule of
from
law.
Ali Maid Nawazish. The point that's coming up again and again, there's no consistent policy from Pakistan. One day it's something, the other day it's something else. And we know for a fact when Imran Khan was leading the country, there was this proposal moved to open trade with India. The cabinet had passed that proposal, then it was scuttled. What we make out of it? There's a genuine concern that there is no clarity. This is an example I remember just a year ago, Imran Khan's time, even after Article 370 was abrogated.
No, I mean, I agree that there has been a lack of consistency, but it primarily stems from the fact that most governments have not spent long enough in power to be able to really enact policy changes, and we do struggle with our democracy as well. But I think that those things, hopefully, with time, can change. But I want to touch upon this thing about hatred, right? Like you have two guests from India and you have two guests from Pakistan, and you can look where and if you analyze our conversation so far, where is the hatred spewing from, right? Obviously, there are going to be negative sentiments both on the Indian side towards Pakistan, both in the Pakistani side towards India, but you can't expect that to change overnight when we've had generations of hatred sown in, and uh, so we have to start somewhere. We can't just keep dwelling on the past. We can't just keep dwelling on okay, this and that and allegations one way or other. Otherwise, we get stuck into this negative feedback loop from hell. So so I mean, what I want to say is that on the one hand, Pakistan didn't create the TTP. Pakistan did not prop up the TTP. Pakistan is a victim of the TTP, to set the record straight. And also, we Pakistan is now fighting terrorism. Pakistan has taken action, and if there were past mistakes, it has tried to correct them. But that doesn't mean we say, okay, then no peace, never ever again, and let's just move on with this hyper nationalism. Let's move on with this
Right.
hatred spewing against each other. There was a BBC
Maid
poll in
Ali,
27.
uh,
Sorry, just one thing. There was a BBC poll in 2017. I was looking at it for my PhD project, and 85% of Indians have a negative view of
okay,
Pakistan. So
Maid
it's
Ali,
on both sides of the
yes,
border.
yes, right. Maid Ali, the point is that at the moment Pakistan is facing a grave situation on the economic front. Their TTP has sprung its head, and there are many clashes and encounters taking place in Pakistan. The terrorism is spreading, and that's another reason that Pakistan is reaching out to India, causing making those statements. Uh, it could just be an attempt to rather to buy time, and not what is the guarantee that
What what is there that
Pakistan
Pakistan would
resolve issues, particularly the economic situation.
what is there that Pakistan would want to buy time for, there's
No,
nothing
I'm
which
saying
relates
at the
to
moment Pakistan is busy with its own problems. It's at the verge of default.
Pakistan has never been free of its problems, for the last so many years. If you're referring to the Taliban factor, I think we had many other things to look at. I am more worried about the economy. I am worried about the state of affairs. I am worried about future prospects. Pakistan is uh, uh, trading very, I would say, dangerous times. Uh, Taliban is one factor, and it has resurfaced. Yes, to a great extent, but that problem, as my colleague from Pakistan has said, it's not our creation. Whosoever had sort of used Taliban over the years, they're not there anymore to control them. And we have to go to a full-fledged war or a battle with them. We are having battles with them, but we'll have to go to a full-fledged war to counter this phenomena. But I don't think that phenomena has gone this far that we should resort to war or any reaction. I am more worried about economy, and I think that's the sole thing that has moved the circles which are in favor of having a good relationship with India, and I think they are working. I don't know why everyone from India, when I come across on such programs, they talk of terrorism. We are also facing terrorism in Balochistan, and I know that they can't say that it's not been sponsored by India. It has been sponsored by India, but it doesn't make any difference. If you're enemies, these things happen. You don't keep on sort of hammering this thing for blocking the way forward, blocking the way forward. We need to sort of get out of this, and we need to address these problems, and especially Pakistan needs this more than any other country in the region. And I let me tell you very clearly, an unstable Pakistan is not quite favorable for India. India wouldn't want a instability in this country. They would want stability, and that's what everyone wants. That's what I want, and people like me want. And as far as the public opinion is concerned, they have no time for that. Was you see Imran Khan talking about Taliban and Bilawal talking against Taliban, and these are local politics. People are
Right,
not concerned about that.
right,
People are more concerned about their state of affairs financially. They with
right.
empty pockets, Pakistan just cannot survive.
Right. Sushant, Sareen, with people with empty pockets, Pakistan just cannot survive. Its economic problems are just escalating with every passing day. But is it that the Pakistan is trapped, a hostage of its own narrative for all these years? That, say, an Imran Khan or a Shehbaz Sharif makes a move, but then has to step back because the narrative has been built for all these years and nobody can dare to change it.
Yeah, Zafar, that's where the problem comes, doesn't it? That you climb on your high horse and then you can't dismount. Now, if Shahbaz Sharif was genuinely interested in reaching out to India, not that, like I said earlier, Indian government would not respond to a press conference or an interview. But if he was genuinely interested and he was, making a public overture, he didn't need to mention the other stuff. He could have just said, yes, we are very keen on improving relations with India and we would very much like to have talks with India. Yes, we have problems with India and we would like to sort those out without getting into the kind of nonsensical language that he used. And then, this thing which Maidali says that, uh, unstable Pakistan is not good for India. Look, number one, Zafar, this is something which has been told to us for at least the last 50 years, even longer. Please make up with Ayub Khan because the mullahs will take over and, Pakistan will become a big problem for you. Please make up with Bhutto because of the same reason. Please make up with Nawaz Sharif. Please make up with Benazir Bhutto. It doesn't wash down any Indian throat anymore. Instability or an unstable Pakistan is the Pakistani problem. It's not an Indian problem. The Pakistanis have to understand how they want to run their country. I can't save their country. I can't help them on that. Right? I have to protect my own security. For the other gentleman, I forget his name, to say, oh, I am hearing so much hatred coming from India. If you start losing your friends and family members in terrorist attacks, you will get hatred from India. Number one. Number two, if you hear the kind of stuff which we hear from your side, and I've been hearing it for the last 25 years, please don't expect any love coming from me. And I have been actually a peace activist at one point of time, only to realize that how fruitless that entire process was after the 26/11 attacks. So please don't lecture to me on what hatred is and what hatred is not. And finally, since you were talking about TTP, it wasn't an Indian raw chief who said that a TTP guy is a good guy. It was a Pakistani ISI chief after 26/11 attacks who said that Baitullah Mahsood, the TTP chief, is a very patriotic Pakistani and he'll stand shana bashana with the Pakistan Fauj to fight against India if India tries anything after 26/11. So please don't lecture us, and please don't try and spread your wokeism out here and tell us that oh, I feel a lot of hate coming from India. You are getting what you have sown. So please don't expect any love coming your way anytime soon.
Ali Muin Nawaz, this last word to you before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a sadist. I'm still young, and I don't want to be where your other guest is. And I hope that younger generations in India don't feel that way. But one thing, the point that I want to just end this on is that there's been a lot of talk about purpose for talks. I think the only real argument left for a good relationship, and the most powerful one, is the economic argument. But and you've alluded to that. But one thing is that having talks with India right now is not going to help Pakistan economically or get out of its immediate problems. There is the IMF hasn't said that you need to be talking to India to be able to get the next IMF loan, or the World Bank doesn't say that. So it's not that Pakistan is in a difficult economic position and they are talking to India. Anything that will materialize from that will be years and decades down the line. So I just want to address that it's not necessarily out of a desperate economic situation that is right now, because that will not solve it right now anyway.
Okay. Thanks to all our panelists. That's all we have. To all for joining us. That's all we have for the show. Thanks for joining.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.